Hey guys, tonight we're heading back to a time and place where your first breath might be your biggest mistake. Imagine this, you're lying naked on a rough stone surface, the air cold enough to make your newborn skin sting. Around you, men in cloaks glare down with hard eyes, murmuring to each other, not about your name, but about whether you're even worth keeping alive. Welcome to ancient Sparta. You're not a baby here, you're state property, a future soldier or a liability. And if you cry, it's not because you're fussy, it's because you're about to be judged. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're listening from. City and local time. I'd love to know who's out there. Now breathe, slowly. Let your eyelids droop, just a little. And picture this. You are born not into a cradle, but into expectation, into a system. In Sparta, you are not just a child of your parents, you belong to the polis. Even now, while your lungs adjust to the dry Peloponnesian air, your life hangs in the balance. Strong, quiet babies are good. Weak, sickly ones are discarded. Not metaphorically, literally. If the elders examining you find a deformity, or even a bad feeling about your future, you're taken to the cliffs of Mount Taygetus, and you don't come back. You are lucky, perhaps, or strong, or just symmetrical enough to live. But that relief is brief. No soft bed awaits, no lullabies. Your mother, though she carried you for months, doesn't coddle. She's been trained not to. Her job isn't to nurture, it's to breed warriors. And if you ever expected a father to pick you up and coo at you, think again. Spartan fathers are distant, if not absent. They're usually off training, fighting, or judging silently from afar. Their love is proven only if you survive long enough to earn it. Your room is sparse. No toys, no colourful distractions, just a hard floor, thin blankets, and stone walls that echo your cries. But no one comes when you wail. That's the point. Spartan babies are left alone on purpose, to teach endurance, independence, emotional detachment, and yes, some don't make it. The cold, the hunger, the silence, it's a filter. If you're still alive by toddlerhood, it's because you passed an invisible test. Your earliest memories are not of being cuddled or read to, they are of being cold, hungry, and alone. The kind of alone that wraps around your ribs and sits heavy in your tiny chest. There are no bedtime stories, no stuffed animals, no just 5 more minutes, only routines. Drill, harsh whispers about discipline. Other kids like you, crawling around on rough floors, some already toughened by neglect, others barely holding on. Even the way you're fed is strategic. You're given plain food, never in excess. Hunger is not just tolerated, it's encouraged. It builds character, teaches control. You learn to associate satisfaction with weakness. The ideal Spartan boy doesn't eat until he's earned it. Sometimes that means going to bed with nothing but the taste of dust and your own gnawing stomach. Your cries eventually stop, not because you're content, but because you learn they won't help. You stop expecting comfort, you start adapting. At age 3 or 4, you're not babbling in curiosity. You're already learning the first words of obedience and endurance. No backtalk, no whining. You fall, you bleed, you get up. Anything else is shameful. Any sign of softness is dangerous. Around you, the world is dull and bare. The color of stone, the smell of sweat, the sound of sandals on dust. Spartan homes are not built for pleasure. There are no family dinners, no hugs before bed. Children sleep on mats made of rushes, plants from riverbanks twisted into lumpy bedding. Sometimes they poke through and scratch your skin. That's fine, you're not supposed to be comfortable. Comfort breeds weakness. And then come the early lessons. You're barely speaking, barely stable on your feet, and already you're being taught to emulate heroes from Sparta's past. Leonidas, the men of Thermopylae, warriors who supposedly smiled at death. Your elders, grizzled and unflinching, don't tell you these tales to entertain. They tell them to remind you, this is your future. You're not being raised, you're being forged. There is no affection. Praise is rare. A smile is suspicious. In this culture, affection is saved for moments of triumph. after a brutal match or a bloodied victory. Even then, it's a nod, a grunt, never an embrace. You don't cry when you're hurt. You don't even wince. From the moment you crawl, you're expected to walk. From the moment you walk, you're expected to fight. By the end of your first year, you're not waddling around a cozy courtyard. You're following commands. You're being toughened by cold baths, hard food, and long silences. You're taught to sit still, to listen, to obey. You've seen kids disappear, ones who cried too much, stumbled too often, failed to keep up. No one says where they went, but even your name, if you have one yet, is a formality. What really matters is how others see you. Are you strong, quiet, obedient, fast? These are the only traits that buy you time, buy you life. As sleep creeps in and the world fades around you, let yourself drift deeper into this strange, Spartan cradle of cruelty. The walls may be silent, but they watch. The cold may be numbing, but it trains. And the people around you, they're not your family. They're your competitors, your testers, your future squad, or your future executioners. Because in Sparta, the first day of life isn't a celebration. It's a test you might not pass. The first thing you remember clearly isn't a birthday, or a gift, or even a voice. It's being held up naked, still pink with early life, by rough, calloused hands that grip you like a fish at the market. The elder doesn't smile. He doesn't coo. He squints at you, pokes your limbs, lifts one of your legs, checks your hips, inspects your eyes. His breath smells like ash and garlic. His fingers are cold. He makes a noise in the back of his throat. Not approval, not disgust, just calculation. You are not his grandchild. You are a product. And right now, you're being appraised. You don't understand words yet, but you feel what's happening. The other adults in the room are quiet, watching. This is no ordinary birth celebration. It's a tribunal. Spartan law demands it. Every newborn boy is brought before the council of elders, the gerousia, to be judged. Not for your soul, not even for your potential, just your immediate worth. Can you one day hold a spear, march for hours without food, die with your shield in hand instead of turning and running? The elder turns you sideways and examines your spine. If it curves the wrong way, even slightly, if your body shakes, your eyes don't track his motion, or you seem too quiet or too loud, he will give the nod, the wrong nod, the one that seals your fate. A defect, they call it. But this word doesn't mean different, it means doomed, because in Sparta there is no tolerance for different. Some babies scream the whole way through this process. Others go limp with exhaustion or fear. Neither reaction earns you points. You, however, squirm. You flinch at the chill. You blink at the dim firelight. And you hiccup once. Then still, a moment of calm. Enough to make the elder pause. That pause might save your life. He wraps you in coarse linen and hands you to a man with a leather strap for a belt. You're not swaddled. You're contained. Wrapped so tightly your arms can't move. Spartan parents believe loose limbs make weak children. You are bound and set into a wooden basket beside a fire, not too close, just close enough to keep you from freezing. Others are not so lucky. You've heard of them in murmurs, in legends disguised as cautionary tales. The place they're taken is called apothete, meaning the deposits. It's a chasm at the foot of Mount Taygetus, where unwanted infants are left, not buried, not tended, just play. For the gods, for the vultures, for gravity, Spartan society does not weep for these children. The mothers may, silently, but they are warned. To cry too openly is to risk your standing, to be seen as un-Spartan, as soft. You, meanwhile, survive your first judgment, but even that survival is conditional. There are no lullabies waiting, no painted ceilings or cradle mobiles, only routines. Every day is a small gauntlet of survival tasks disguised as childcare. You are bathed in cold water, not because it's easier, but because it's harder. You're exposed to light, to noise, to discomfort. When you cry, you're left alone longer, not scooped up. The goal is simple. You must learn to self-soothe. If you can't, you won't last long in this world. The women who raise you during the day, because your mother may already be pregnant again, or busy running the household, are firm. Spartan women are known across Greece for for their sharp tongues, their broad shoulders, and their utter lack of sentimentality. Come back with your shield, or on it, they will one day say to their sons, and you are expected to become the kind of man who hears that and nods, not one who flinches. You don't know it yet, but you're already being watched. Every reaction, every behavior, every whimper is data. Are you a crybaby? Do you calm quickly? Do you bite when another child grabs your toy, or do you freeze? The stakes are high, even now, before you can walk. Eventually you begin crawling. But in Sparta, crawling is not a milestone, it's an early test. Older boys will push you, knock you over, take things from you. It's not just rough housing, it's assessment. Your resilience is noted. If you fight back, if you snarl, you're praised, not with smiles, but with nods, or the rare placement of a hand on your head. If you sulk or cry, silence, disappointment. You're told stories, not sweet fables, but tales of battle and betrayal, of Ephialtes, the traitor of Thermopylae, who was cursed forever, of heroes who died young, but with honor. These are your moral lessons. Cowardice is worse than death. Softness is suspicious. Loyalty is everything, but must be earned. The other children, like you, are growing sharper, thinner, faster. There's competition in everything. Who walks first? Who holds a wooden spoon like a dagger? Who growls instead of sobs? You begin to mimic them, not out of admiration, but out of fear, because you know the ones who fall behind get pushed further, not by adults, by the group. The herd culls itself. One day, a toddler next to you wheezes through the night. His breathing is wrong. The women whisper, "In the morning, he's gone." No questions are asked. You don't mention it, because no one does. You stare at the empty mat and understand, faintly, wordlessly, that your presence is still conditional. And then comes the branding moment of your early years. You're led to a stone bench where a young man, not a doctor, not a priest, but a soldier, burns a tiny mark into your upper thigh. It's not a name or symbol, it's a designation. You are now logged into Sparta's system of upbringing, claimed not by your family but by the state. You flinch at the searing pain, but you don't scream, not aloud. Not even when you smell your own skin. That night, you lie awake longer than usual, pulsing with pain, but more with understanding. This isn't a family, it's a forge, and you are just beginning to melt. The time you can walk steadily, you realize something odd. Your parents barely touch you anymore. The gentle gestures you might have glimpsed in other parts of the world, kisses on foreheads, warm embraces, lullabies in the dark, aren't part of your life. Your mother is always there, but she is not warm. She corrects you with a look, a snapped word, or the back of her hand if you cry too long. She doesn't say, "I love you." She says, "Endure." Your father is different. Not cold, just absent. You see him rarely, and when you do, he looks at you like he's trying to guess how strong you'll be when you're older. He's not interested in your day, your thoughts, or your scraped knees. What he wants is to know if you can stand on your own yet. When you fall, he doesn't help you up, he waits. If you struggle too long, he turns and walks away. The lesson, if you want to earn his respect, you'll have to bleed for it. Sometimes he watches you train, yes, train, because even now at 4 or 5 years old, you're being run through basic motions, balance, posture, reaction. You're given sticks, told they're swords, told to march in a straight line and hold your ground when pushed, fall down, and you're laughed at, not by your father, but by the other boys. One of them steps on your cloak as you stumble. No one stops him. No adult scolds. Your pain is entertainment. Your humiliation is instruction. You learn not to show it. That's the real education. Not how to fight yet, but how to suffer in silence. You might as well practice now. There's a lot of that ahead. One evening, while you try to chew through a hunk of barley bread so dense it could bruise a helmet, you hear the girls training in the field nearby. Yes, girls. Spartan girls are not raised like other Greek girls. They're encouraged to be strong, fast, loud. They run, jump, wrestle. They laugh with their mouths wide open, unashamed. It's unsettling, especially if you've ever caught stories about the quiet, obedient daughters of Athens. Spartan girls are fierce. and they're watching too. They'll one day choose husbands based on strength and toughness, and weakness, even now, will cost you future respect. You don't play, you fight. Games here involve hitting, grabbing, throwing, biting. All of it is supervised, but only loosely. If you come home with a black eye or a cut lip, your mother doesn't fuss. She looks at it, nods, and asks who won. And you're not the only one in your household under pressure. Your mother is also being watched. If she's too emotional, too protective, too indulgent, the elders may speak to her. A mother's job is to raise warriors, not soft boys. And if you show signs of weakness, it reflects badly on her. So she keeps her face hard, her voice sharp. Sometimes you wonder if she truly feels anything for you. But then there's a moment, brief and silent, that stays with you. One night after dinner, after the cold bath and before your rough blanket is tucked around your shoulders, your mother looks at you and places a single finger on your forehead. She holds it there for a second, doesn't smile, doesn't speak, just that one touch, as if to say, survive, and then she leaves the room. At 5 years old, you begin to realize what's expected of you, even if no one says it aloud. You must be tougher than the boys around you. You must learn to eat pain and give back discipline. No one is coming to save you from anything, not hunger, not bullies, not punishment. If you want anything, you take it. If someone takes from you, you fight them. If you lose, you do better next time. That's the only story here. That's the only part. But underneath it all, you still ache. In your sleep, you twitch with the weight of silence. You miss something you've never really had. A warm voice, a soft hand, someone who says, you're safe. And when you wake and find none of those things waiting, you push the feeling down, like you've learned. Bury it deep, pretend it was never there. Your days blur into repetition. Wake up, eat if food's available, train, fight, fail, try again, endure. That word starts to feel like your name. Endure. That's what they expect. That's what earns nods from elders, smirks from peers, rare glances from your father that aren't disappointment. Sometimes, the other boys whisper about kids who didn't make it. A boy who cried too often and was sent away. Another who showed fear when an older team punched him during training. They're not dead, you're told. Just removed. Sent somewhere else. But everyone knows what that means. In Sparta, removal is worse than death. Death can be noble. Removal means shame. One afternoon, you're forced to stand still as ants crawl across your bare foot. You're told not to move. If you swat them away, you'll be punished. So you grit your teeth as they bite. Tiny red welts bloom across your skin. Your eyes sting. Your lip trembles. But you don't move. Not because you're strong yet, but because you're learning to be. And that's the secret of this life. Even now, you're not meant to be strong already. You're meant to break, be reshaped, and then break again. This isn't education. It's slow motion demolition. With every rule, every slap, every silent meal, a little more of your softness is stripped away. By the time your 6th birthday approaches, you're not excited. You don't expect gifts or celebrations. You're not even sure anyone knows the exact date. What you know is that you're close to the next stage, the real one, the one where everything gets harder. Because age 7 is the beginning of the agoge, and that's when they stop pretending you're a child. You turn 7 and nobody says a word. There's no party, no song, no cake, no gifts. Just a quiet morning with stale barley bread, a splash of cold water to your face, and the sound of leather sandals on stone as a city official arrives. You don't even look at your mother, you're not supposed to. She doesn't look at you either. Her face is carved from wood. But as you're led away, you hear her exhale, long and low. You won't hear that sound again for years. You are now property of the Ugojag, Sparta's state-run military education system. It's not a school, it's a crucible. And from this day forward, every hour of your life is owned by the city. You'll eat when they tell you, speak when they tell you, learn what they tell you. If you ever had a name, it matters less now. You're just one among dozens of other boys, all exactly 7, all equally terrified, but none of you show it. That's the first test. They strip you down, literally. Your clothes are taken. You're given a short cloak, dyed a rough red that hides bloodstains. No tunic, no shoes. That's it. You wear this same garment through every season: scorching summer, icy winter, and everything in between. Your skin burns, then it peels, then it hardens. No one cares. That's the point. You sleep on a mat of reeds. The reeds are gathered from the riverbank by your own hands. If you want more comfort, you have to steal better bedding. But if you're caught, you'll be punished, not for stealing, for being bad at it. Your first meal is a small lump of black broth made with pig's blood and vinegar. It smells like rust and tastes like old leather. That's your dinner and your breakfast and lunch. Hunger becomes a companion, a second heartbeat. They don't feed you enough on purpose. It's another test. If you want more, you'll have to be clever enough to find it. And so the wrestling begins. Not in a gym, not on mats, on dirt, in gravel. You and the other boys fight for everything. Bread crusts, spare cloaks, firewood. There are no assigned winners or losers, just survival. You learn to size up your peers not by smiles or words, but by stance. Who's holding food? Who has a limp? Who's nursing a bruise from last night's punishment? Who's weak enough to be challenged today? There are no adults supervising every moment. Just older boys, 15, maybe 16, who oversee the groups like junior tyrants. They're not instructors, they're tormentors. If they catch you slouching, dawdling, or talking out of turn, they hit you with sticks, sandals, open hands, always with permission. That's how you learn discipline, not through books, but through bruises. You try not to cry. Crying gets you noticed, and being noticed gets you punished. So you learn quickly to bury pain, to hold it behind your teeth. When your ribs ache from a fall, when your ankle throbs after a stomp during drills, you keep marching, keep gritting. The older boys laugh, the instructors watch without blinking, and still, you march. There are no classes, not like you'd expect, no desks, no scrolls. The Agoj teaches you through obedience, repetition and fear. You learn basic words, enough to follow orders and recite Spartan poetry, the kind that praises death in battle and mocks cowards. You're drilled in rhythm, in speech, in silence. There are contests to see who can go the longest without making a sound. The winners are praised, the losers are whipped, and not metaphorically. One boy breaks down crying after being hit during a sparring match. He sobs openly. The sound echoes across the courtyard. The older boys drag him out by the arms, not cruelly, casually. The way someone might drag a sack of grain. Later, he returns, limping, his cloak stained darker than before. No one asks what happened. Everyone already knows. At night, you whisper to each other. Quick, sharp exchanges before sleep. You don't talk about home. That's soft. You talk about tricks for stealing more food. Which instructors are easiest to fool? Which older boys are the most brutal? And which ones might go easy if you keep your head down? You share bruises like stories, boast about scars like trophies. One boy brags about stealing an apple from the market. Another claims he took a chicken leg off an unattended cart. No one praises them for the theft. The praise comes because they didn't get caught. That's Sparta's paradox. You're encouraged to steal, but only if you can do it silently, invisibly. Get away with it? You're clever. Get caught? You're beaten, not for dishonesty but incompetence. That's the real shame. So you practice, at night, barefoot, in silence. You creep from your quarters. You test door latches. You learn to open them without sound. You slip into kitchens, storerooms, homes. You learn how not to breathe too loud, how to freeze at the faintest creak. And if you're good, you eat. If not, your back pays the price. You're starting to understand. This isn't just about learning to fight. It's about learning to disappear, to blend into your environment, to kill without hesitation, to suffer without protest. One morning, during a group inspection, a boy sneezes. That's all. Just a sneeze. He's ordered to run laps around the training ground until he drops. You don't sneeze. You hold it in, teeth grinding, face twitching, until the pressure passes. Then you exhale, slowly, silently, and hope no one noticed. It's only been a few days, maybe a week. You've already forgotten. how home smelled. You barely remember your mother's voice. You remember her touch on your forehead. Yes, but even that is fading. What remains now is hunger, cold, dirt beneath your toes, blood on your lip, pain in your gut, and the pressure to never, ever stop moving forward. You sleep that night with your eyes open, just a little longer. The mat under you smells like damp leaves. Your stomach growls so loud it wakes the boy beside you. He doesn't complain. He just turns his back. Everyone's starving, and somewhere, deep inside you, a new feeling settles in. It isn't fear anymore, or even despair. It's adaptation. The days begin to blur together in the agoge. There are no weekends, no breaks, no "you did well, take a rest." Every morning starts the same way, with cold air, stiff limbs, and the dry taste of last night's broth still lingering in your mouth. If you're lucky, you find a crumb left in the corner of the mess hall. If you're fast, you snatch it before anyone sees. If you're smart, you already ate it in the dark, while pretending to sleep. Your body starts to change. You're thinner now, not just slim, lean like a wolf pup, all wiry muscle and alert eyes. You've grown used to the hunger. It sharpens you. Your stomach growls, but your hands stay quick. You can snatch food without flinching, dart from shadow to shadow without making a sound. The older boys call you a ghost. That's a compliment. Your feet hurt all the time. No shoes, not even in winter. The ground cuts you. Stones slice open your soles. Sometimes the wounds bleed. You pack them with dirt to stop the sting. If someone asks, you lie. I'm fine. Always. I'm fine. Because if they think you're injured, you'll be given double drills. And no sympathy. Some boys limp. Others get infections. A few disappear for a day or two, taken away for healing, which usually means they're being punished for showing weakness. When they come back, they don't talk about it. They walk slower, speak softer, and never flinch again. Whatever happens behind those closed doors, it breaks something in them. Your cloak stiffens with sweat and grime. You haven't washed it in weeks. No one has. The fabric smells like every punishment, every wrestling match, every breath you've exhaled since arriving. But it's warm at least. You curl into it at night, face buried in the rough folds, trying to forget how cold the floor is beneath you. The other boys are both your friends and your enemies. One minute, you're crouched beside them, whispering about who stole a fig from the kitchen. The next, you're locked in a wrestling match that leaves one of you with a bloody nose. You can't afford to hold grudges. There's no time for them. Grudges get in the way of survival. There are drills every day. Marching, running, endurance training. You run in circles until your lungs burn and your legs wobble. You're told to race up hills with heavy rocks strapped to your back. Fall behind, you're beaten. Vomit, clean it up yourself, then run again. And all of this is done barefoot, always barefoot, because a Spartan must learn to feel the earth with every nerve in his body. One afternoon during a march, a boy beside you stumbles and falls. His ankle gives out with a snap. You hear the pop sharp and sickening. He cries out, clutching his foot. Everyone freezes. The instructor doesn't move. Instead he says, "Get up." The boy doesn't. He just breathes fast, staring at his twisted ankle. "Get up." Still nothing. So two older boys drag him to the side of the training field and leave him there. You don't see him again that day. The next morning his mat is empty. Nobody talks about it. You never learn his name. You never ask. Pain becomes a background noise. Your body is always sore, always tense. Your stomach is always empty. Your hands are always scraped raw from climbing, crawling, gripping. You develop blisters, calluses, bruises. They fade, then return, fade, return. Pain is a rhythm now, like breathing. And then there's the discipline. You've already learned the rule. Stealing is encouraged, but getting caught is punished. The same logic applies to everything. Lying? Fine, if you're not discovered. Sneaking out after lights out? Go ahead if you return unseen. You're not taught morals, you're taught tactics. You start to see the instructors in a different light. They're not teachers, they're sculptors, and you're the clay. They carve away your instincts, your fear, your softness. They don't care if you cry yourself to sleep, so long as you do it silently. They don't care if you hate them, so long as you obey. One of them, an older man with a limp and a voice like gravel, takes an interest in you, not kindly. He just seems to notice that you don't cry when hit, don't wince when cold, don't flinch when he barks your name. He tests you, gives you extra tasks, makes you stand outside longer than the others, your feet turning red from the chill. But he never says why. One evening, after a long day of wrestling, you're called into the center of the courtyard. The older boys gather in a circle. You're told to stand still. Someone throws a piece of dried bread into the dirt beside you. Whoever wants it, come take it. The instructor growls. And then they release the other boys. You're tackled, bitten, scratched, kicked. Fists pound your ribs. Elbows strike your neck. You curl, twist, claw back. Everything blurs into noise, and blood, and dust. Someone grabs your ear and twists. Another boy slams into your side. You feel your lips split open, but you do not stop. Somehow, in that mess, your fingers close around the bread. You shove it into your mouth, barely chewing. It tastes like dust and iron. You're panting, bleeding, but grinning. Because you won, that night, lying in the dark, your body throbbing. You think of your father. Would he be proud? Would he have nodded? Maybe, if you'll never know. But for the first time in weeks, you sleep with something in your stomach. And that's enough. You wake up with blood in your mouth. Not fresh, not gushing, just the dried metallic smear left over from yesterday's fight over bread. Your lip is crusted, your jaw aches when you move it. But you don't wince. That lesson has sunk deep. Now, pain is private. Pain is your own problem. There's no breakfast waiting. There never is. You pull your red cloak tighter, not for warmth. It's not warm, but for the tiny bit of protection it offers your skin against the stone floor. Your feet are cracked. You dream sometimes of sandals, but that's all they are. Dream. Today is a day of inspection. The instructors line you up, 20 boys across a dusty field, shoulders back, hands straight at your sides. One by one you're examined like equipment. Muscle tone, posture, responsiveness. An older boy throws a rock near your feet without warning. If you flinch, you fail. You don't flinch, you haven't flinched in weeks. But the boy next to you does. Just a twitch, a half-second recoil. It's enough. He's pulled from the line, dragged to the center, and struck hard across the back with a leather strap. Not once, not twice, 5 times, slow and deliberate. No one moves to help him. That would be weakness. That would be shame. You glance at him once, only once, and then stare straight ahead again. He doesn't cry though, not out loud. Later that day, you're taught a new rule. Or rather, an old one that finally becomes relevant. A Spartan must know how to steal, but only with skill. You've heard this before, of course. But today it becomes real. You're hungry, as always. And now you're given a task. Sneak into the older boys' quarters and take something. Anything. Bread, dried figs, a strip of cloth. Just don't get caught. There's no reward promised. Just the risk of punishment. But punishment is constant anyway. So you go. You wait for nightfall. The others pretend to sleep, but you know they're watching you. Curious, jealous, maybe waiting to follow you. But you move first, slow and quiet. You've practiced this in your dreams. The corridor is cold under your bare feet. You move like smoke, heart pounding in your chest. Your hand touches the frame of a door. The wood is rough. You ease it open. Inside, the older boys' cloaks hang along the wall. Their bedding is slightly thicker. They have a small stash of olives tucked behind a cracked pot. You don't go for the obvious loot. You take a roll of bandage cloth instead. Light, quiet, easy to conceal. As you back out, you hear a noise, a floorboard, a breath. You freeze, still as a statue. Someone's awake, but they don't move. They're watching, testing, maybe admiring. You don't know. You slip back into your sleeping room like a whisper and slide under your mat, the cloth pressed to your chest. The next morning, there's no word, no accusation. You're not punished. You pass. Stealing is a skill here. It's a lesson in cleverness, subtlety, survival. The ones who fail, they're flogged, until they bleed, sometimes until they faint. The ones who succeed, they eat, maybe even rest for 5 extra minutes. Maybe, but what they never do is boast, because pride gets you beaten just as fast as failure. You learn to keep victories quiet. Later, you're paired off for hand-to-hand drills. The instructors are watching for more than technique. They're watching for instincts. Who attacks first? Who hesitates? Who aims to dominate? Who stops when their opponent yields? You're put against a boy you've seen cry once. Weeks ago, he's wiry now, harder. But you see something in his stance. Hesitation. You rush him fast, tackling him to the ground. Knee to his chest, fist to his shoulder. He tries to twist away. You tighten your grip. He taps out, breathless. But you don't stop. You want to hear the instructors say enough. You want to be dragged off him. You want to feel the edge of dominance and see how far you can go before it becomes too much. They do pull you off eventually. Not angrily, just with a nod of approval. One of them says, "That's how you fight." You're dizzy from adrenaline. Your knuckles sting. The other boy doesn't meet your eyes for days. This is what they want. Not just strength, but ruthlessness. You begin to understand the shape of the adult Spartan. A man of silence, of discipline, of quick, lethal violence. You're not just being raised to defend your home, you're being sculpted into a weapon. And like any weapon, you're meant to be sharp, cold, and wielded without emotion. There's a moment, one evening, when you see the instructors gathered by a fire laughing. Not loud, not soft, just a few gruff chuckles. You watch from a distance, wondering what they find funny. You can't imagine ever laughing again. Not really. But maybe, someday, if you make it to their ranks, you'll remember how. For now, the firelight glows on their scarred faces, and the sound fades into the crackling of wood. You turn away, wrap yourself in your cloak, and try to sleep. Tomorrow, the drills will be harder, the punishment sharper, and the food scarcer, but you'll endure because that's what Spartans do. The days have turned to weeks, and the weeks to months. You no longer count them. Time is just the stretch between punishments and pain, between hunger pangs and fleeting victories. You live by routine, by instincts. You rise before the sun, your breath visible in the cold air. The floor beneath your bare feet is always hard, always unforgiving. But now, you don't feel it as much. This is when you begin to forget what it was like to live any other way. The other boys, the ones who've lasted this long, have changed, too. You all move differently now, lower to the ground. Lighter, eyes always scanning. You're like wolves learning to stalk each other. Even when the drills stop, the tension doesn't. You eat beside your rivals. You sleep beside them. You train with them. But you are always measuring. Who's getting stronger? Who's starting to slip? Who might not be around next week? Today begins like every other. A splash of cold water to the face. A silent meal of black broth and crumbs. Then formation. But this morning, an instructor approaches with a new order. Today, you learn obedience, he says. You think, haven't we been doing that already? But no, what he means is different. You're told to stand in place, completely still, arms at your sides, eyes forward, mouth closed, no fidgeting, no blinking, no noise. Then he walks away. At first, you stand tall, proud. This is easy. 10 minutes pass, your legs begin to ache. 20. The sun climbs higher, sweat beads on your forehead. 30. Your feet feel like they're sinking into the dirt. The boy beside you scratches his leg. A sharp crack of a stick across his shoulder brings him down. You moved, the instructor says flatly. He's pulled away, not gently. You don't hear him cry. You barely hear anything, just your own heartbeat and the whisper of wind across the courtyard. You remain frozen. Your muscles twitch, but you don't give in. You remember what happens to boys who give in. Finally, after what could have been hours, you're told to move. Just a word, dismissed. You walk away slowly, each step heavy, legs numb. You haven't learnt a new skill today. You've just been broken in a new way. And it doesn't stop. Later, you're ordered to memorize a long passage of Spartan law. Not written down, recited by a tutor once, then never again. You have to repeat it by heart. Miss a word, misplace a syllable, and you're slapped. Again and again until you get it right. This is what passes for education. Not arithmetic, not history, just law, obedience, and discipline. Sparta doesn't need philosophers. It needs soldiers who know exactly when to march and when to strike. One boy, quieter than most, recites the law perfectly. His voice doesn't waver. The instructor says nothing, just nods once. That's the closest thing to praise you've seen in weeks. Later that night, you find the quiet boy staring into the distance, mouth moving silently, still reciting, still preparing. Because here, success doesn't earn you a rest, it just raises the bar. After dark, you're summoned again, not for punishment, for sparring. The matches are no longer friendly. No more controlled grapples, no gentle takedowns. This is combat. You're paired with a boy heavier than you, broader. He's fast and angry. Maybe he's hungry. Maybe he's just tired of being second best. He slams into you like a charging ball. Your breath leaves your lungs in a sharp gasp. You hit the dirt, shoulder first, then roll, instinctively protecting your head. He follows, fists swinging, feet stomping. You counter, block, jab. It's messy, brutal. Your elbow connects with his jaw. His knee slams into your thigh. You grunt. He growls. You're not fighting for points. You're fighting to stay conscious. When it ends, no one says who won. That's not the point, the instructor says. Again, and you begin to understand, there is no victory here, only endurance. You stagger back to your mat hours later. Your limbs are jelly. Your knuckles throb. Your side has begun to swell. You might have cracked a rib. You don't sleep well. You shift in pain. The cold presses in through your cloak. Someone cries quietly across the room. No one moves. No one comforts them. At some point your eyes close. You dream of bread. Just bread. Not meat. Not home. Just a crust of warm bread with soft steam rising from it. You wake up with your hand twitching in the air, as if still reaching for it. You wake before the sun, again. The air is sharp, cutting into your lungs like dry needles. As you breathe, you don't shiver anymore. Your body has forgotten how. Your first movement is slow, testing the ache in your shoulder from last night's fight. Still bruised, still sore. Good, that means it mattered. Today, there's no formal announcement, no new orders shouted at dawn. Just a whispered rumor passed along the line as you all chew your black broth and stale crumbs. No food until nightfall. Not a punishment, a test. You blink slowly. You're used to hunger. Hunger is background noise now, a dull ache beneath every thought. But still, the day ahead stretches long. You adjust your mindset, not survive the day, but move through it one task at a time. That's how you've learned to cope. Thinking too far ahead is dangerous. It makes the day seem impossible. The instructors watch your reactions. Most boys say nothing. One boy makes a joke under his breath. He gets a cuff across the jaw so fast he doesn't even flinch. Laughter is not discipline. Discipline is silent acceptance. First drill, barefoot runs across jagged terrain. Not a track, not sand, stones. You grit your teeth with every step. The soles of your feet bleed again, old scabs torn open. You keep running. Behind you, someone cries out. Someone else vomits in the dust. You don't stop. Second drill, crawling. On elbows, knees, forearms, through thorny brush, over uneven ground. You tear your cloak again, but it doesn't matter. It stopped being useful weeks ago. The red fabric just hides your wounds better. Third drill, standoffs. Two boys are pitted against each other, not to fight, just to stare, face to face, inches apart. The first to blink, flinch, or step back loses. It sounds simple. It isn't. You're chosen. Your opponent is taller. His breath smells like raw onions. His brow glistens. He glares at you like he wants to bite. You stare back. Every instinct tells you to flinch. Your eyes water from the sun. Sweat trickles down your cheek. But you don't blink. Finally, he does. You win. No prize. Just a nod. Just that precious lack of punishment. You go back to your place and sit in the dirt. Later, During chores, you're tasked with gathering firewood from a nearby grove. But you know what they're really testing. Who will take more than asked? Who will stash a small bundle for himself? Or sneak back a splinter for kindling? Who will be clever without being seen? You find 3 sticks. You hide one in your cloak lining. It's stupid, dangerous, but it worked. Back at the barracks, the instructors inspect you all. They find nothing. No extra wood, no stolen food. For now, you've passed. But others aren't so lucky. One boy is found with an apricot pit in his palm. He claims he found it on the ground. They don't care. He's whipped in front of everyone. Not for eating, for being caught. You watch without expression. That's the rule. The day stretches longer. Sun overhead, hot and harsh. You think of shade, of a breeze. You don't get either. In the afternoon, a strange event. A new boy arrives. He's smaller than the rest. His eyes dart everywhere, wide with panic. His cloak is still red, still fresh, still clean. You all smell the newness on him. He's food. The older boys taunt him, trip him, knock him down. He cries, just a little, enough for everyone to hear. That's a mistake. By evening, his knees are scraped, his lips split. You watch, curious, but detached. You were him once. Now you're not. Survival isn't about kindness. The day ends in darkness. No supper, not even the broth, just silence and aching bellies. One of the instructors walks through your sleeping quarters. He carries a whip, not using it, just dragging it behind him, slowly, the way someone might drag a stick along a fence. Everyone lies still. He pauses near one boy, waits, then moves on. You exhale quietly. The moonlight spills through the cracks in the wooden roof above. You trace the pattern with your eyes, counting breaths, until sleep comes. Your last thought before drifting off. You didn't faint. You didn't flinch. You didn't cry. That makes today a victory. Even if you're starving, the next morning, you wake up to the sound of someone being whipped, not punished for anything new, just caught. He'd tried to steal bread from the kitchen and was too slow climbing back out the window. The whipping isn't just for him, it's for all of you. A reminder, a warning, a lesson you already know by heart. Steal, but don't get caught. No one says a word during breakfast, which is nothing more than a ladle of bitter broth and a strip of hard barley. You eat in silence, eyes low, thinking about the boy who failed. He won't get a second chance for a while. Maybe not ever. His back will be torn open, blood sticking to his cloak. He'll sleep on a mat that scratches the wounds, flinch with every breath. No one will help him clean it. No one will give him extra food, not out of cruelty, out of training. You finish your food and lick your fingers, pretending not to care that it wasn't enough. You've gotten good at that, pretending. Today, you're being tested on stealth again. A new exercise. You and a group of 5 other boys are assigned one simple task. Retrieve a chicken from a pen without making a sound. The pen is guarded, not by soldiers, but by older boys armed with sticks and full stomachs. You crouch in the dry grass, watching from a distance. The guards laugh and lounge lazily, but you know better. They're alert, waiting. One of them even twirls his stick like it's a toy. You know from experience it is. You move low, creeping around the edge of a barn. The others do the same. You coordinate without words. You've learnt to communicate in glances, gestures, timing. The chicken pen creaks in the wind. You spot your target, a fat hen clucking stupidly near the fence. Your heart pounds as you slide closer. You reach under the fence, fingers brushing straw, then feathers. The chicken jerks, sensing something. You freeze, and then it settles. Your fingers close around it. You lift it silently, cradle it against your chest, and back away slowly. One boy behind you snaps a twig underfoot. The guards perk up, look around. You all flatten in the dust, barely breathing. A few tense seconds pass. Then the guards relax. Laugh again. You slip back into the shadows, chicken still tucked under your arm. You've done it. Later that night, you cook it over a hidden fire with your team. No seasoning, no oil, just the taste of victory, of hot meat torn apart by hungry hands. It's the best thing you've ever tasted. You eat every scrap, Crack open the bones for marrow. Lick your fingers clean. No one says it aloud, but in that moment you're a unit, a team. You didn't betray each other. You succeeded together. That's rare here, but just as quickly, the moment ends. Because you hear it, the whistle of sandals, and instructors approaching. You scatter the fire, stomp the coals into the dirt. The bones are buried under the matting. You sit straight, blank expressions. Wait. He walks through the room, sniffs, says nothing, keeps walking. You exhale. You've passed again, but tomorrow might be different. Every day, the line tightens. Every rule gets sharper. Later that week you're taught another lesson. This one not about stealing, but about lying. A boy is caught exaggerating how many laps he ran during morning drills. Just 2 extra, 2 that no one saw. He gets called out by another boy. Subtle revenge. Maybe the instructors don't punish him right away. Instead, they let him stew. All day he's given no orders, no punishments, no praise. He's ignored. That silence is heavier than a blow. By nightfall he's pale, twitchy. He blurts out the truth in front of everyone, begging to be punished so it'll end. They do, a quiet flogging, and then he's allowed to return to normal. You learn something that day. Silence can be worse than pain. Sometimes they don't break you with noise. Sometimes they break you by pretending you don't exist. That scares you more than the whip. So you stick to the rules, but only the real rules. The ones everyone understands, even if no one says them out loud. Be tough. Be silent. Be clever. Never trust that you're safe. Each night, as you lie on your mat, you go over your decisions from the day, every look, every movement. You try to guess which ones will come back to haunt you. This is the real education. Not math, not writing. Just control, self-control, group control, damage control. Even now, as you drift towards sleep, you keep your ears sharp. One creak from the door, one shift in someone's breath. That's all it takes for everything to change. But tonight, the barracks are quiet. No whip, no steps, just you, your breath, your bruises, and the faint memory of hot chicken on your tongue. There's something strange that starts to happen in your 10th year. The cloak doesn't feel quite as heavy. The barefoot marches no longer burn the same way. The hunger, though constant, becomes manageable. Even the cold seems to bite less deeply. You're not getting stronger in a way that's visible. You're not bulkier, not taller, but you've hardened, toughened. Spartan life hasn't just shaped you, it has replaced you. You walk like them now, shoulders square, chin tucked, feet landing softly. You speak less, observe more. Your face, once boyish, has settled into stillness. When you see new boys arrive, thin-limbed, soft-eyed, full of questions, you recognize them, not with pity, but with calculation. How long will they last? A week? A month? You're no longer the lowest on the ladder. But that doesn't mean you're safe. No one is safe in the Agoj. Today begins with the usual drills, but there's a new instructor. You recognize him from town, a veteran of the wars against the Argevs. His leg is twisted from an old injury, but no one dares mock him. His eyes are like flint. His voice is calm, which is worse than yelling. He doesn't raise it. He doesn't need to. He walks slowly among your ranks, watching, then he stops in front of you. Step forward. You obey. Of course, he points to the ground. Take off your cloak. That's odd. You do as you're told. The wind hits your bare skin. It's cold. Lie down. You hesitate. Only for a second. Then obey again. You lie flat on the dirt. He walks around you, slowly, examining. Then a question. Can a weak boy survive in Sparta? No, you say, voice steady. Can a clever coward survive in Sparta? No. Can a boy who cannot obey survive in Sparta? No. He nods once. Then he drops a flat wooden board beside you. Balance it. That's it. That's the test. You lie there, arms and legs straight, and you balance a flat board on your chest, without letting it tip or fall, for minutes, then hours. You're told not to move, not to shift your breath. Every muscle in your body twitches in rebellion. It's not about strength. It's about stillness, control. The other boys are doing the same. A field full of human tables, balancing boards on ribs, learning to regulate their own lungs. The wind howls, your skin prickles. But the board stays. Another victory, another inch of survival. Later that day, you're assigned to a hunting squad. Not for training, for real. You're told to track and trap a rabbit in the hills outside the village. You're given no weapons, no supplies, just your cloak and your hands, and you're told not to return until you succeed. The hills are dry and thorny. The ground crumbles beneath your feet. Every branch seems to crack too loudly. Rabbits scatter at the first sound. You work with two others, boys you trust just enough. One drives the rabbits toward a trap. Another waits with hands poised. You wait in the shadows, eyes sharp. Hours pass. Finally, the trap springs. You pounce. It kicks wildly, but you don't flinch. You snap its neck cleanly, something you were taught to do weeks ago on a straw dummy. You hold it up. Food. You make a fire with stolen flint and twigs. Skin the rabbit with a sharpened bone. Roast it carefully. And for once, you eat without guilt. Without fear, just hunger. The others chew beside you. Silent, but satisfied. You return to the barracks late, soot on your hands, rabbit bones in your pouch. The instructor sniffs the air, then waves you in. You pass again. That night, lying in the dark, you realize something. You're not just surviving anymore. You're adapting, becoming. When you walk across the training field now, others make room. Not because you're the strongest or the smartest, but because you don't hesitate, you don't blink, you don't show the cracks that other boys wear like bruises. You're not a child anymore. You're becoming a Spartan. You think of home sometimes, but only as a faint shape in memory. Your mother's face is a smudge. Your father's voice, a distant echo. You don't miss them, exactly. You just remember them. But they aren't part of your world anymore. Here, your only family is the brotherhood, and your only comfort is control. So when sleep comes, and the pain in your muscles begins to dissolve into numbness, you let yourself exhale. You've earned another day, tomorrow. You start over. You're called into the square at dawn, still sore from the hunt. The bruises on your ribs faded to a yellowish hue that feels permanent. The instructors form a ring, arms crossed. Behind them stand older boys. 15, maybe 16, nearly men. They tower above you now, their cloaks longer, their faces sharper, harder. One of them you recognize. He used to sleep 3 mats down from you. Now he barely nods when your eyes meet. This is not a greeting. This is the start of something else. Whispers swirl before the command is shouted. Whipping drill. You've heard of these. Everyone has. The diamastigosis. It's not just punishment, it's a ritual, a performance, a test of endurance. Boys are whipped in front of crowds, at festivals. Some of them faint, some of them die, and that's the point. Today is just practice. You line up with the others, heart pounding. Your hands are steady. You've been hit before, but this is different. This is timed, controlled, measured. The instructor holds a rod, not thick, but barbed with tiny metal tips. It's not designed to punish, it's designed to tear. He walks down the line, one by one, no words, just the crack of the rod on bare skin, the hiss of breath drawn in through gritted teeth. Then, it's your turn. You step forward. He raises the rod. You close your eyes, but only for a second. Then, crack, white fire explodes across your back. You feel your knees twitch, but they hold. You force your mouth shut. No sound. Again. Crack. Your vision flashes. Your hands curl into fists. Blood drips down your spine. You breathe through your nose. Again. Crack. You smell iron. Not from the rod, from yourself. Then it's over. You walk back to your place. Skin screaming. The cloak against your back now feels like sandpaper on an open wound. But you didn't fall. You didn't cry. You didn't even flinch. The instructors nod slightly. You pass again. Another boy doesn't. He screams on the second blow, collapses on the third. He's dragged off. Not gently. No one speaks of him again. Later that day, you're sent to the river to bathe. The cold water shocks your body, opens the wounds. You wash the blood away. watching it swirl in the current. A dozen other boys do the same, all with raw backs and stone faces. No one speaks. One boy silently helps another clean a cut he can't reach. It's not affection, it's necessity. You return to the barracks and lay on your stomach, cloak bunched beneath your chin. The air stings the wounds, but you've learned not to move. You don't seek comfort. You just let the pain settle in. It belongs to you now. The next morning, the instructors test your reading of poetry. Yes, poetry. Not for beauty, for memory. Precision. You recite verses from Tyrtaeus, hymns of Spartan courage, sacrifice, honor in death. Let each man hold his shield high and fall in line beside his brothers. You speak the words without feeling. They're no longer inspiration. They're reminders, orders, truth. At night, they make you repeat them aloud as you run laps. With every line, your lungs burn. With every breath, your legs threaten to collapse. But you do not stumble. You've stopped asking when this ends. Because it doesn't. Not really. Even at rest, the trials continue. You're given tasks with no clear goal stack. These stones, now unstack them. Now carry them to the far wall. Now bring them back. One boy complains. Not loudly, just a mutter under his breath. The entire group is punished. You run laps, crawl through thorns. Hold stones above your head until your arms shake. You learn, weakness isn't just personal, it's contagious. So when another boy shows signs of breaking, you don't comfort him. You correct him, harshly, because if he fails, you suffer. At night, as you settle into your mat, your back aching, you hear a small sound. Breathing, but off rhythm, shake. Someone is crying, quietly, desperately. No one says anything. The crying continues, for a while, then stops. In the morning, that boy is gone. No one asks why. You don't even speak his name. That's how the system works. It scrapes the softness from you like flesh from bone. It grinds empathy down until it's no longer a feeling, just a memory of a feeling. You get through it because you have to. Because now, more than ever, you realize you're not being trained to survive. You're being trained to die well. You're 11 now. Not in celebration, not in years counted by candles or kind words, just in muscle, in scar tissue, in what you can now endure without flinching. In Sparta, age is measured not by time, but by toughness. Your days are as relentless as ever. But now, a shift has taken place. The instructors expect more. The punishments are harsher, the drills more brutal, and the food somehow less. You wonder how it's even possible to be given less than almost nothing, but the answer is simple. They expect you to steal better. You do. You all do. Thefts have become coordinated, silent, efficient. One boy distracts, another signals. You slip in, snatch, and vanish. A dried fig, a heel of bread, even a bit of honey scraped from a discarded pot. You learn, not just to survive by theft, but to thrive by it. If thriving means eating enough to stay standing during drills. You've also become expert at pain. Pain used to knock you down, disorient you, break your rhythm. Now, it's a companion. It joins you for meals, walks with you on morning runs, hums quietly in your limbs when you sleep. You've stopped expecting it to leave, and so it doesn't hurt in the same way anymore. It just. But even now, Spartan life finds ways to make things worse. Today's lesson is simple. Hold your cloak over your head in the sun. Just that. For hours, the sun beats down. Sweat stings the cuts on your back. Your arms tremble with the weight. The cloak traps heat like a furnace, baking you slowly from the top down. One by one, boys drop. First, a whimper, then a collapse. Each fall is met with silence from the instructors, then punishment. Not immediate, not physical, just removal. Those boys are pulled out of the drill and made to sit in the shade. They're ignored for the rest of the day. Being ignored is worse than being hit. When they stop hitting you, it means you're not worth the effort. You do not drop your cloak. By sundown, your lips are cracked. Your cloak smells like sunburned skin and old sweat. But you're still standing. That night, water is restricted. Just a single ladle. No more. You drink slowly, not for pleasure, just to coat your throat so your voice doesn't fail during poetry recitations. Afterwards, there's sparring. You're paired with a boy named Diodorus. He's a bit taller than you, meaner. He always has dirt under his fingernails and a crooked smile that says he likes this. You don't, but you've grown used to it. The match begins. You circle, hands loose, feet light. He charges. You dodge. You grapple. He slams a fist into your shoulder. You twist. Your elbow meets his chin. There's a crunch. He stumbles back, bleeding from the mouth. The crowd of boys howls. Not in pity, in approval. Blood always gets attention. The instructor doesn't smile. He just says, again, and so you fight again. When it ends, you can't remember who won. You both lie in the dust, panting, bleeding, covered in bruises that will purple by morning. But you both get up, and that's what counts. Later, while tending your wounds with salt water that stings like fire, one of the older boys sits beside you. He doesn't speak, just looks at your knuckles. Then he nods, once, and walks away. It's the first real acknowledgement you've had in weeks. And it means something, more than any prize, more than food. Recognition in Sparta is rare, and you've just earned a fragment of it. That night, you lie awake longer than usual. Your back aches, your arms twitch. You think about Diodorus's blood on your elbow. You think about how your cloak still smells of heat. You think about the boy who was pulled into the shade earlier, and how no one said a word to him after. There's a pattern here, one you've finally begun to see. Sparta doesn't test your strength, it tests your silence. It doesn't teach you how to live. It teaches you how to keep going when living doesn't matter anymore. And even now, you're not sure if that's strength or something else. You close your eyes and sleep shallowly, the way animals sleep in the wild. One ear open, one hand curled, just in case. Your bones click when you wake up now. Not with age, but with tension. You stretch your arms overhead and feel the stiffness in your shoulders, the tightness in your spine. You sleep on reeds so thin they may as well be the floor, wrapped in a cloak that hasn't been washed since last season. Still, you're grateful for it. Some boys don't even have that anymore. Cloaks are lost, stolen, torn. You guard yours like it's armor. The day starts without a word. You're marched to the field while it's still dark, the sun not yet cutting over the horizon. You're told to pair off. No instructions, no drills, just one command from the instructor. Fight. There's no warm-up, no reason given, just the sound of cloaks being dropped to the dust and the thud of fists on flesh. You face a boy named Kaiman. His left eye is always swollen. It's just how he looks now. You've fought him before. He's quick, slippery, and loud. You're not. But you've grown harder. He throws the first punch. You let it hit. It stings, but you're already moving. You grab him, slam him to the ground. He rolls, kicks. You wrap your arm around his neck and hold tight. He tap. You don't let go right away. The instructor nods once. That's your reward. Later, Kimine doesn't speak to you, but he doesn't avoid you either. In Sparta, that's friendship. After the fight, you clean yourself in the stream. The water bites. Your lip is bleeding. A scratch from his fingernail runs down your cheek. You don't bother wiping it. Today's lesson is different. You're sent to a mock battlefield outside the city. A wide open space with logs and uneven ground. You're handed a wooden spear. The older boys are lined up across from you. Real combat simulation. This isn't play anymore. You're told to form a phalanx. Lock shields. March forward. Except you don't have shields. You make do with planks, your cloaks wrapped around your arms. It's chaos. The older boys don't hold back. They bash, sweep, knock you down. If you're too slow, you're trampled. You're fast. You slip into the gaps. Drive your makeshift spear into an older boy's side. He grunts, swings at you. You duck. Keep moving. You're hit twice. Once in the ribs, once across the thigh. But you stay standing. When the drill ends, you're panting, drenched in sweat, streaked with dust. Your leg trembles. Your hands throb. The instructors don't say anything, but they watch. That's all that matters. Back at the barracks, you're given a new task. Cleaning latrines. It's not punishment. It's another test, to see if you complain. If you drag your feet, if you think any job is beneath you, you don't. You get on with it. Scrape, dump, wash. Another boy gags. You don't. Later, during chores, you find an extra bit of cheese left behind by a cook. Just a thumb-sized wedge. You pocket it and keep working. You eat it that night, quietly, under your cloak, while the others sleep. It tastes like everything you've been denied, and you don't feel guilty. You dream, later, of mountains. Not Sparta, not the courtyard, just mountains, vast and cold, with wind that doesn't bite, but whispers. You walk alone in the dream. No orders, no drills, just quiet. You wake with a strange ache in your chest. But there's no time to name it, because the next trial has already begun. They call it standing guard. You're posted outside the mess hall. You're told to stand still, spear in hand, from dusk until moonrise, alone, in silence. It's not about danger. There's no enemy coming. The enemy is in your own limbs. Your aching feet, your drooping eyes, the cold that creeps up your legs like vines. You clench your jaw and stay upright. When you see the instructor pass by in the distance, you don't turn to look. You just keep staring forward. When your shift ends, no one says anything. But there's a small piece of meat on your mat that night. No one saw who left it. No one asks. You eat it in one bite. Another reward, earned without praise. Because praise is weakness. Recognition is quiet here, but it still means everything. You don't know what day it is anymore. You don't even try to count them. Time has dissolved into a blur of bruises, drills, punishments, and aching limbs. But today is different. Not because it's better, but because it's quiet. Too quiet. The instructors don't bark any orders this morning. No commands, no weapons training, no announcements. Just a short instruction spoken low and flat. Wait. So you do. You and the others sit in the training yard with your legs crossed and backs straight, dust settling around your ankles. The sun rises, climbs, shifts overhead, and still no one moves. One boy wipes sweat from his brow and is immediately yanked away and punished, not for the sweat, but for breaking stillness. Another dozes off and earns a backhand that cracks through the air like a whip. There's no sympathy. You've long since learned that even doing nothing in Sparta is a test, especially doing nothing. Eventually, late in the afternoon, when the sun starts its slow descent and your muscles feel permanently locked into position, the instructors finally gesture forward. You're told to retrieve a single stone from the river and carry it back to camp. That's it. No details, no race, just go. But you know better than to think this is simple. It's never simple. You're being judged on your pace, on your discipline, on your silence, on your endurance. Whether you drop the stone, whether you ask for help, whether you give up. So you find one heavy enough to matter, awkward in shape, coated in dry mud, and you heave it up onto your shoulder. The pressure instantly shoots down your spine and into your knee, but you don't let it show. You walk, step by step across the field, back to camp, past the eyes watching from the shadows. You place the stone neatly on a pile. No one praises you. They just watch you walk away. Later that night, you find a crust of barley bread on your mat. Slightly fresher than usual, slightly larger. You know exactly what it means. No ceremony, just a reward, one you earned, without asking. Then something new. You're summoned into the instructor's hut and made to sit across from an older boy. He doesn't waste time. He asks you plainly, who's the weakest in your group? Not who's slowest, or smallest, or who got sick last week. Who's weakest? You hesitate, just for a moment, but you answer. You give a name. You're not proud of it, but you're not ashamed either. You understand now. It's not cruelty. It's administration. The next day, that boy is given the worst watch post, a wind-blasted stretch of wall with no cloak, no fire, and no cover. You hear he stood there all night, trembling like a reed in a storm. But when he returns in the morning, lips blue, fingers cracked, he's not angry. He's changed, hardened, silent. You realize what's happened. You didn't condemn him. You helped forge him, and now you're part of it. You're not just being trained anymore. You're participating. watching others, measuring them, feeding the system. You're still a boy, but you're no longer just a subject. You're becoming part of the machinery of Sparta. That night, you lie on your side in the dark, back pressed to the wall, body tired but alert. You can feel your cloak's rough fabric on the raw spots on your shoulders, the scabbed-over lashes across your back. You stare at the wooden ceiling and feel a quiet settle over you that isn't comfort, but clarity. Soon you'll be the one giving the orders. And when that day comes, you'll know exactly who can take them. By the time you reach your 12th year, fear has stopped working the way it used to. It doesn't rise in your throat or grip your stomach anymore. It simmers low, deep in the body, like a slow heat that you learn to live with. There's always something waiting to break you, but now, you've stopped wondering if it will come. You just wait to find out how. This morning, it's different from the start. There's a strange energy in the air, tense, expectant. The instructors don't shout. They simply walk through the camp in silence, tapping the tops of heads as they pass. When the wooden rod lands on yours, you're told nothing. Just come. You follow, along with a handful of others, to a different courtyard. One that isn't part of the daily drills. There are no cloaks here, no stones, just silence, and a wide dirt circle at the center. The instructors tell you, you will learn to kill. There's no drama in the words, no threat, just fact. You're each handed a wooden blade, not a toy, but not sharp enough to kill. Not yet. Then you're paired off again and again against boys you've fought before. But the fights are different this time. You're not wrestling, you're not sparring. You're striking for the throat, the stomach, the heart, anywhere that could end a life. You hesitate the first time. It lasts half a second, just a breath. Your opponent doesn't. His wooden knife cracks against your ribs, hard enough to leave a bruise that will stay for weeks. You're thrown to the dirt. The instructor says nothing. He simply steps over you and calls the next name. You get up. The next time, you don't hesitate. You learn to aim for soft parts. Under the chin, behind the knee, at the base of the spine. The wooden knife isn't sharp, but in the right hands it can do damage, and you're quickly becoming the right hands. The instructors walk among you, correcting your stance, nodding at especially vicious moves. They're not teaching you how to win a duel, they're teaching you how to eliminate threats. Quickly, quietly, without remorse. By evening your arms ache from swinging, blocking, parrying. The knife feels like an extension of your hand. It's always there now, even when you sleep. Later, you're sent out into the nearby woods with 2 others. No instruction, no map, just the word, survive. You know what it means. It means you'll be watched. It means food is hidden, but scarce. It means someone, somewhere in the dark, will try to catch you. And if they do, it won't be a game. You stay low, move slowly. Every crack of a twig under your heel feels like thunder. You find a fig tree and eat the fruit before anyone can see. Your companions fall into rhythm behind you. There's no trust, not really. But there's understanding. You watch each other's backs, only when your own is secure. You spot a trap too late. A snare meant for small animals, maybe even a test. It catches the ankle of one of your companions. He cries out, sharp, high, fast. You clamp your hand over his mouth. Before the sound echoes, he writhes beneath your grip. You hiss at him. Quiet. You help him free, and the 3 of you disappear again into the brush. That night, you sleep in turns. No fire, no blanket, just a dirt hollow under a tangle of roots. Your cloak barely covers your legs. You tuck your arms in, bury your head and try to ignore the shivering. You hear an owl, then footsteps, then silence again. Morning comes with no warning. An instructor appears from the trees, like a shadow. He nods once. You pass. You return to the barracks hungry, bleeding, exhausted, but proud. Not outwardly. Outward pride is arrogance, and arrogance is punished. But inside, you carry something else now. You know what your hands are capable of. You've felt the force behind your own blows. You've learned where to cut, where to strike, how to move like you were born with a blade in your fist. You've learned how to kill. No one tells you this, but you've crossed a line. There was a version of you that existed before this day. He's gone now, What remains is something else. Something that's starting to look a lot like a Spartan warrior. And yet, in the quiet, when you're lying half asleep on your mat, you wonder, just briefly, if any of the others feel it too. That distant, strange ache. Not fear, not regret, just the faintest echo of something left behind. But the thought fades, and you sleep. Because tomorrow, you'll need every drop of strength you have. The older boys don't teach with words. They teach with fists, with humiliation, with bruises you're not allowed to tend. You've grown used to their presence, but that doesn't mean you feel safe around them. If anything, their attention is more dangerous now than ever. You've reached the point in the age where they don't just observe you, they target you. You're 12, almost 13, and that's a dangerous age in Sparta. Old enough to be tested harder, young enough to be expected to fail. The boys who once ignored you now pick you out on purpose. They knock your bowl from your hands as you eat. They trip you as you walk. They drag you into the dirt in front of the younger ones, not for a lesson, but for a laugh, and no one stops them. You understand, of course. This is part of the system. These aren't bullies, they're veterans of what you're still enduring. They suffered like you did, and now they deliver that same fire down the chain. It's a rite, a cycle, and when they humiliate you in front of others, it's not random, it's strategic. They want to see how you react. Some boys lash out. They get beaten until they can't stand. Some boys shut down. They disappear into themselves. Those ones don't last long. You absorb it. You let them throw you down. You let them laugh. You let them think they've broken you. But you don't forget. You wait. One day, during a group wrestling match, one of those older boys, Nicandrus, is walking past when you're paired with a smaller opponent. As you spar, he yells out loud enough for everyone to hear, "Try not to cry this time." The others snicker. You don't react. You take your opponent down cleanly. Then you stand and meet Nicandrus's eyes. Just a moment. Just enough. He sees it. That night, under cover of darkness, you find his training cloak hung out to dry. You dip it in the latrine trench. You wring it dry, then hang it back, exactly where it was. The next morning, the smell hits him like a slap. The instructors smell it too, but they say nothing. Nicandrus glares across the courtyard. You look away. That's how the game is played. Later that day, you're assigned to shadow an older boy as he completes drills. It's not a reward, it's a study. You're meant to mimic him, follow his lead, absorb everything he does and doesn't do. This one is different, stoic, clean, efficient. He doesn't waste energy. He doesn't bark at others. He doesn't grin when someone gets hurt. He's older by only a few years, but already he seems finished, set. You can see the soldier he'll become. You start copying his movement patterns, how he pivots, how he rolls his shoulders before sprinting, how he breathes during long drills. He never acknowledges you, but after 2 days of watching, he finally says something. Stop mimicking, start learning. It's not meant to be cruel, just direct. Spartan. From then on, you focus more, sharpen your senses, pay attention not just to what he does, but why. And one night, during a storm, while the rain pounds on the wooden roof above the barracks and lightning rips the sky open, you feel the edge of something you haven't known in months. Aspiration, not hope. That's dangerous, but direction. You want to become like that boy, not just strong, but unshakable. Not just feared, but respected. That night, your dreams are loud, not peaceful, not kind, but alive. You dream of standing in the middle of a battlefield, not flinching as others fall around you. You wake with your heart pounding, fists clenched around the fabric of your cloak. You realize you're smiling. The next morning, Nicandrus trips you again. You hit the dirt hard, shoulder scraping against stone. But this time, he doesn't laugh. He just walks away. And that's when you know you've become someone worth watching. There's no warning before it happens, just a summons at dawn, cold and colorless. The kind of morning where the sky looks like iron and your cloak clings damp against your back. You and 10 others are marched out past the training yard, past the fields, past even the familiar edges of Spartan daily life. No one tells you what's coming, only that you're to prepare. You know by now that this word means suffering. The only mystery is the shape it will take. You arrive at the edge of a stone amphitheater. It's old, half crumbling, used more for tradition than spectacle. A crowd has gathered, older boys, instructors, and even civilians from the city. Not cheering, not smiling, just watching, arms folded, eyes sharp. In the center of the ring, a wooden platform stained with old blood. And beside it, a thick switch of leather, curled and gleaming like a serpent in the instructor's hand. Today, you fight for entertainment, not against soldiers, not animals, each other. The instructor calls out names. You and another boy step forward. You've met him before, Macarius. Broad-shouldered, silent, eyes sunken from weeks of hunger. He doesn't nod to you. He just steps into the circle. You're handed a wooden baton, not sharp, but solid. He gets one too, and then the instructor says, "Begin." You don't hesitate. You've learned that's the fastest way to get hurt. You lunge. The first blows are fast, wild, loud. He catches you in the side with a solid smack that knocks the breath from your lungs. You retaliate with a sweep to his knees. He stumbles, recovers, dust rises. The crowd leans in, watching every movement. You stop hearing them. Your focus narrows to the boy in front of you, his footing, his angle, his grip tightening before a strike. You land a blow to his shoulder. He answers with one to your collarbone. Your arms go numb, but you don't fall. This isn't a match you can win by force. You fight until one of you can't stand, or until the instructor ends it. And finally, after what feels like hours, you strike Macarius hard across the ribs. He gasps, knees buckling. The baton slips from his hand. He tries to reach it, but the instructor raises a hand. Enough. Macarius stays where he is, kneeling. His eyes don't meet yours. You don't gloat. You don't speak. You simply turn and walk back to your place. The next fight begins immediately. Another pair. The crowd shifts their attention. You sit in the dirt, chest heaving, arms trembling, bruises forming already. But there's something else. A warmth rising beneath the pain. Not pride, not joy. Something closer to proof. You didn't break. Not this time. As the matches continue, the crowd's interest never wanes. Some boys are too slow and get crushed. Others break down mid-fight, drop their weapons, cry out, beg for the match to stop. Those are the ones who don't return to training. They're not killed, but they're removed. And in Sparta, that's the same thing. By sundown, the amphitheater is cleared. You and the other survivors are lined up, bloodied, bone bruised, breathless. The instructor walks the row. He doesn't speak, just studies your faces. Then quietly he says, "This is what it means to be useful." You're sent back to the barracks without food that night. No reward, just silence and the familiar cold of your sleeping mat. Your arm is swollen, your eye is already closing. You breathe through your mouth because your nose is stuffed with dried blood. And still, you lie still. You don't complain. You don't shift. You know you're being listened to, even now. You think of Macarius, whether he's curled up on his own mat, or if he's gone, whether he'll look at you differently now, whether you'll be the one losing next time. Then you remind yourself, don't think of next time. There is only now, only breath, only readiness. This is what it means to live for Sparta, to bleed, not for glory, but for survival. They don't tell you it's happening. There's no announcement, no ceremony, just one morning. An instructor points at you and says, "Pack lightly." That's all. No explanation. No hint of how long you'll be gone or where you're going. But the older boys glance at you with a mix of wariness and something else, something like respect. That's when it sinks in. The cryptia has begun. You've heard whispers about it. Every boy does. A secret rite of passage, a hidden trial, one that separates Spartans from everyone else. Not a game, not a test, a transformation. You don't ask questions. You take your cloak, your belt knife, and nothing else. You're marched into the hills under cover of dusk, away from the city, past the olive groves, and out into the wilderness. The moon is thin tonight. Your feet are silent. No one speaks. Eventually they leave you there, alone. There's no fire, no food, no shelter, just the cold and the dark, and the sound of wind rustling through the tall, dry grass. You sit for a while, listening, breathing, letting your eyes adjust to the blackness. The silence here isn't peaceful, it's sharp, it watches you, tests you. Then the voice returns in your head. You're not here to survive, you're here to kill. That's what the cryptia is. Not a myth, not a rumor. A real, sanctioned mission to spy on and execute helots. You've always known the helots live beneath you. Slaves, serfs, foreigners who tend the fields and serve the city. You've seen them cleaning streets, carrying firewood, building homes they'll never own. You've never been told to hate them, only to fear them. There are more helots than Spartans, always have been. The balance of power is delicate, and when it tilts, even a little, Sparta becomes afraid. So every year, boys like you are sent into the wild to remind the helots, you are not safe. The instructors told you once, you are the blade Sparta hides in the dark. Now you understand. You move under the trees in silence, watching the distant flicker of fires in helot villages. You choose one, isolated, small, easy to escape from. You wait hours, crouched in bushes, your legs numb. Then you slip inside a hut, through the rear wall. Inside, a man, asleep, middle-aged, thin. He stirs once. You act quickly. Your knife finds his throat. He doesn't even scream. It's over in seconds. You don't look at his face. You don't search for meaning in his last breath. You just leave. Your hands are shaking. You wash them in the river without thinking. Scrub until the blood's gone. The cold numbs your fingers. Your teeth start chattering. You don't return to camp for 2 days. You keep moving, sleeping in trees, listening to insects, watching stars crawl across the sky like distant gods. When you finally return, no one greets you. No one asks what you did. But the instructors look at you differently now. And the boys in the barracks give you space when you lie down. You lie awake that night, cloak tight around your shoulders. Your body aches from travel. Your stomach is hollow. Your knife is still at your side. You keep your hand near it, not out of fear, but habit. The man's face doesn't return to you, not yet. What comes back is the silence afterward, that unnatural stillness, as if the earth held its breath for a moment, then exhaled in blood. You're not a child anymore, not even in name. You are a shadow now, a weapon. You are what Sparta needs when it wants to remind the world who holds the power and how quickly that power can kill. You return from the cryptia, a different creature. You feel it in your bones, in the way you move, in the way others look at you without saying anything. You haven't said a word about what you did out there, and no one asks. That's the rule. What happens in the dark stays there, but everyone knows. They can smell it on you. The absence of hesitation, the absence of mercy. The drills resume, as if nothing's changed. Marching, running, spear work, formation. But you notice it, the instructors are watching, not yelling, not correcting, just watching. They're no longer asking whether you can follow orders. They're now asking whether you can silence the final thing that stands between a boy and a true Spartan. Emotion. The training begins to bend. Not outwardly. There's no announcement, but small things shift. The punishments become less predictable. The drills are rearranged without warning. One day, you're told to carry stones all morning, and just when your legs begin to shake, you're ordered to sprint, climb, then kneel. No rest, no water, no reason. They're searching for something, watching for cracks. One boy, younger than you, trips during a march and scrapes his knees. He rises too slowly. His eyes are red, teeth clenched in pain. The instructors say nothing. They don't need to. The other boys begin pushing him harder. He cries out. That, too, is ignored. He finishes the drill, but he's marked now, less for the stumble than for the noise he made after. Another boy, during formation, hesitates when his partner drops his spear. It rolls a few paces away. The moment lasts only a second, just long enough to be seen. And that's the point. They don't want you to flinch when someone next to you falters. They want you to march over their body without slowing down. And then comes the ritual. You're brought to the temple of Artemis Orthia with no explanation. You already know what's coming. This is no ordinary punishment. It's a ceremony, blood offered to the gods, not in reverence, but in loyalty. You've heard of boys dying during this. That's not a failure. That's glory. You're told to remove your cloak and kneel. The stone beneath you is cold. The whip, long, braided, tipped with bone, is laid out beside you like a sacred relic. A priest, not a soldier, takes it up. No eye contact, no blessing, just the expectation. You will not cry out. The first strike takes your breath away. The second folds your shoulders forward. You feel the skin split, warmth running down your back. You breathe slowly through your teeth and focus on the dust at your knees. The world becomes smaller, reduced to sound, heat, and the steady throb of pain climbing your spine. Another boy collapses before his 10th stroke. He's dragged away like meat. No one reacts. You don't fall. You don't scream. You don't even move. When it ends, you're not dismissed. You're expected to walk on your own. The blood seeps into your cloak. You don't flinch as it soaks the raw flesh. Back at the barracks, you lie on your stomach, arms folded beneath your face. No one speaks. No one offers comfort. The pain is private. The ritual is shared. Everyone bleeds at the altar, eventually. And yet, as the night settles in, a strange sensation tightens in your chest. Not sorrow, not fear, just the softest pulse of something you can't quite name. Not weakness, not pride, but maybe the final flicker of the boy you used to be, the one who still hoped that pain could be earned, that cruelty had a purpose beyond endurance. You breathe slowly and let it go, not because you want to, but because you have to. Tomorrow, you will be quieter. Tomorrow, you will feel even less. You are almost complete. You wake with blood dried into your cloak and a crust of salt on your skin. Your back is stiff, but you don't reach for it. You don't stretch. You don't even flinch when you sit up. Pain, at this point, is just a shadow that walks beside you. It doesn't demand your attention anymore. It simply exists. Today, there's ceremony in the air, not a celebration, but a ritual. You and the others are marched through the main square of the city in silence. Citizens stop what they're doing. Women stare. Children hide behind them. No one cheers. No one claps. Spartans don't cheer, for they're young. They observe them. They measure. You're brought to the edge of the sanctuary of Artemis Orthia. Not for another flogging, but for dancing. Yes, dancing. But in Sparta, even art is pain. You're placed in a line with others, ordered to move in rhythm, to perform coordinated steps, while holding wooden weapons and chanting hymns. These aren't dances of joy, they're war dances, rituals passed down from generations of warriors, movements designed to mimic formations, to test balance, discipline, timing. The instructor watches for hesitation, for missteps. You don't dare make one. Then the second part begins. The altar is prepared, and boys are chosen, at random, to be whipped while the rest of you dance around them. Blood spatters the stone. The scent of iron thickens in the air. This is no punishment. This is worship. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, protector of Sparta's purity, demands more than prayer. She demands endurance, and Sparta delivers. The boys being whipped don't cry out. Some collapse. Some are dragged away, unconscious. No one breaks formation. Not a single foot misses the beat. You dance around them with a blank face and a steady rhythm, heart pounding in your throat, your hands clenched at your sides. You're not afraid of being chosen. You've already bled for Sparta. You're afraid of misstepping, of ruining the ritual. When it ends, the priest sprinkles ashes on the altar. The crowd disperses like dust in the wind. No one speaks to you. No one thanks you. But that night, you're fed better than usual. Still simple food, still dry and flavorless, but enough to fill your stomach for once. A piece of meat, a second piece of bread, a cup of thick wine. You eat slowly, savoring every bite. You don't share. You don't talk. The others do the same. Everyone knows this is the reward, not for survival, but for silence. You've begun to understand what Sparta means by strength. It's not just the ability to fight or to win. It's not speed or force or accuracy. Strength here is composure, It's keeping your face calm as your friend bleeds. It's controlling your breath while your skin is torn open. It's dancing in perfect rhythm while the gods are fed with blood. And in a city where everything is violence, even religion is a weapon. Later, you lie awake staring at the beams overhead, your stomach full for the first time in weeks. But you don't feel comfort, not really. Just stillness, the kind that comes when all emotions have flattened under discipline. You don't dream that night. You wake with your cloak still wet with old blood, your fists clenched, and your mind ready for the next test. Because even the gods want you to suffer here, and the only way to make them proud is to do it quietly. The Helots know who you are now. You see it in their eyes when you pass. Not fear, not exactly something colder. Resentment. They don't spit, they don't run, they don't dare speak. But you feel it radiating off them, like heat from a fire. You're not allowed to look at directly. They know what the cryptia was. Maybe not in detail, maybe not who, but they know some of their own didn't wake up one morning, and they know who walked out of the woods afterward. You've never spoken to one directly. That's not allowed, but you watch them work. The women bent over fields, the men hauling water, the children sweeping the dirt outside homes they don't own. Their lives are silent, obedient, like yours, but not quite. They flinch when Spartans walk past. You don't flinch for anyone. And yet today, for the first time, you're told to enter a Helot settlement. Not for killing, for surveillance. You and 3 others are instructed to wear dull cloaks, to dirty your faces, to walk as Helots would, slowly, submissively, eyes down. It's not a game, it's training. You're told to observe. Who walks with confidence? Who avoids Spartan eyes too well? Who meets your gaze too long? The instructors don't want you to guess. They want you to know. You slip into the edge of a village under the guise of labor. You carry a sack of grain on your shoulder and walk with a limp, just as you were told. The disguise isn't for the Helots, it's for you. To see if you can blend, to see if you can gather intelligence without violence. But you feel every second of it, the shame of pretending to be them, the discomfort of their silence, their slow, dull eyes, their bent backs. You wonder, is this what you looked like once, before Sparta carved the hesitation out of you? A woman stares at you too long. You note her face. Her hands are clean. Her clothes not as patched. She's not afraid, not like the others. You whisper it to one of your squad mates, and he passes it along in a blink. Later that night, back at camp, the instructors nod. You saw her. Good. That's all they say. But 2 days later, word spreads. That same woman was taken, interrogated, removed. You don't ask what that means. You already know. You're not surprised. You're not disturbed. You did your duty. You played your role. You proved yourself useful. Not just in blood, but in awareness. But something lingers. Not guilt. That would be a weakness you buried long ago. Just a moment. A flash of her eyes in the dim light. Not defiance, not hatred. Recognition, like she saw through the dirt, through the role, and knew what you were. Not a Helot, not a god, not even a soldier, a weapon. The next day, the instructors assign you a new drill. Forced marches with weighted packs through the high trails of Taygetus. Your shoulders burn, your knees tremble. The pack digs into the scarred flesh of your back. One boy passes out and is left behind. Not out of cruelty, just as part of the process. You don't look back. You reach the summit after hours of walking in silence. No water, no food, just wind, sharp and cold. The city of Sparta lies below, sunlit and silent. You've never felt farther from it. You sleep on the mountain that night under open sky. No cover, surrounded by the sound of boys trying not to groan. You don't make a sound. You wake with ice on your cloak and blood in your socks. And still, when they call for the descent, you rise. Because the Helots may hate you. The gods may ignore you. And even Sparta may not care if you vanish in the snow. But you'll still march, because that's what you were built to do. You don't remember his name. If he even had one, a Helot boy. No older than you, maybe younger. Just another pair of eyes that met yours for a second too long. It happened on a return march from drills, when you and two others passed near the edge of the helot quarter. The boy was standing beside a wooden cart, hands stiff at his sides, posture too still. You could tell he wanted to run, but didn't dare. Then he moved, barely, just a shift of the hand towards something on the cart's edge. Maybe a tool, maybe nothing. You didn't wait to find out. Your knife was already out, and before your thoughts had time to form words, it was done. A flash of steel, a sharp breath from behind you, the wet sound of something final. The boy crumpled where he stood, a dull thud against the dirt. No scream, no struggle, just silence, followed by the soft shuffle of helots vanishing into doorways like smoke. No one intervened. No one looked back. You wiped your blade on the hem of his tunic, sheathed it, and walked on. Back at the barracks, nothing was said. But when supper came, your bowl was the first filled. A thicker stew, a darker cut of meat. You didn't ask why, you already knew. Sparta doesn't praise with words, it affirms with food, with subtle nods, with being spared another drill while others run laps in the cold. That night, you lay on your side, cloak drawn up, eyes fixed on the ceiling. You didn't feel proud or ashamed, just still, the kind of stillness that comes after clean action. You remembered the boy's eyes, not afraid, not pleading, just tired. He looked at you like he already knew what was coming. That's what lingers, not the act, the knowing. In the days that follow, the instructors begin asking you questions instead of barking orders. They ask you what you saw during the march, where you'd station guards if an uprising began, how many steps it would take you to cross the field to the granary if you needed to set it ablaze. You answer them without hesitation. They don't correct you, and then the younger boys start to follow you, not formally, but in the quiet ways that matter. They mimic how you carry your blade, how you breathe when you're lining up for sprints, how you don't flinch when instructors pass. They sit near you at meals. They ask no questions, you give no permission, but you let them stay. You're not their friend, you're their example. Soon you're assigned to a scouting party. Nothing elaborate, just a task to observe the helot's movement, to report what you see. You're told where to go. You're not told what to do when you find something. You find it, a small storeroom behind a field shack, half buried, carefully hidden, full of dried goods, grain, lentils, figs, too much to be rationed. You mark its location on a scrap of leather, whisper the details to your squad. Then, without being told, you light it. The fire catches slow, then fast. Dry grain always burns hot. You don't stay to watch it collapse. You walk away through the reeds, as smoke rises behind you in thick spirals, curling like black offerings to a quiet god. That night, an instructor says your name aloud at roll call. He understands, is all he says. And then silence. No nod, no reward, just the absence of punishment. But that's all you need. You eat your bread quietly, back straight, eyes forward. There's no one you'd call a friend at your side. No brother, only competitors. But they're watching you now. They're adjusting their steps to match yours. You're not the strongest, not the fastest, but you've become the one who doesn't hesitate. The one who knows when to strike, when to walk away, and when to burn it all. You wake before the others, not out of discipline, not even out of habit, but because your body no longer lets you sleep the way it used to. Sleep is a thing you visit lightly now, like a campfire you sit beside, but never trust. You always keep one ear open, one foot ready to move. Even when the barracks are quiet, even when no orders have been given, you're already awake, already preparing. You don't wait to be told anymore. You've passed that point. The instructors know it. They stop calling your name for drills. They just look at you, and you're already moving. That's what they want now. Initiative without question, violence without hesitation. You've become the kind of Spartan they meant to create. Calm, calculating, sharp, in the dark. Today, the instructions are brief. No speeches, no warnings. You're paired with another boy and told to leave camp. No food, no direction, no time limit. Just go, survive, prove yourselves. The instructors don't even watch you leave. They trust the wilderness to do the watching for them. You're paired with Thiron, a boy with a silent presence like yours. You've never spoken much, but you've trained side by side for years. You know how he moves, where his weight shifts, how he thinks. You don't need conversation, just shared focus. You slip through the low brush beyond the camp, with the rhythm of hunters. Steps soft, eyes wide, backs low. You make no campfire. You ration breath and silence. A true Spartan patrol. The only noise is the wind and the occasional snap of a dry reed beneath your bare feet. By midday you find a trail, faint, worn, clearly hidden. Someone's moving supplies without permission. You crouch, trace the tracks. 2 sets of feet, one larger than the other. Adult and child, probably helots. You signal to Thiron and follow. The trail curves into a grove, past the edge of Spartan fields and into unregulated land. It's risky to be out this far without weapons, but that's the point. If you fail here, you were never meant to succeed in the first place. That's how Sparta sees it. That's how you've learned to see it too. Eventually you find them, a man and a boy, hunched over a small bundle of goods beneath a thicket. They've made a pitiful attempt at shelter, a tattered tarp strung between rocks, a half-dead fire smoking weakly beside them. They haven't heard you. They're speaking low, huddled together. The boy can't be more than 8, maybe 7. He looks thinner than the grain he's hoarding. Thiron looks at you. Not a question, just waiting. You step forward. The man notices you first. His body stiffens. He rises fast, putting himself in front of the boy. No weapon, just hands. You can see it in his eyes. He doesn't expect to survive. He's not trying to win. He's just trying to slow you down long enough for the boy to run. But the boy doesn't move. He clings to his father's cloak. You draw your knife. The man lunges. Not smart, not skilled, just desperate. You move without thinking. Sidestep, stab, retreat. The blade sinks deep under the ribs, and the man lets out a sound that's not quite a cry. He crumples. The boy screams. You turn to him, expecting flight. He doesn't run. He just stares at you, mouth open, frozen in shock. A small rag-wrapped fist clenched at his side, legs trembling. You walk toward him. He stumbles backward, falls, tries to crawl, but his limbs don't obey. You stop above him, breath steady, blade still wet. You could kill him. You should kill him, but you don't. You lower your knife. You turn away. Thiron doesn't speak, but he watches. You expect resistance, a question, but he only steps back and follows you into the brush. The body is left behind. The boy too. You say nothing on the way back. No one meets you at the edge of camp. No instructors waiting with open arms. You're not expected to explain. They never ask what happens out there. If you return, you passed. That's the only measurement. Later, as you sit in the barracks chewing dry barley bread, your mind returns. Not to the kill, but to the pause. The second where your knife hovered. The boy's face, eyes wide, not yet full of hatred, not yet dead inside. You should have done it. You know that. That's the code. But you didn't. You don't know if it was weakness or something else. Not mercy. Not exactly. Just curiosity, a test of yourself. Could you hold back? Could you not be what they trained you to be, even for just a moment? You sleep, that night, with the same question pressing into your ribs as you shift on the mat. Not guilt, just a quiet kind of weight. A weight that doesn't leave bruises, but lingers in the chest, long after the bleeding stops. No one mentions it the next day. Not Thiron, not the instructors. But you catch one of them, looking at you a little longer than usual, as if trying to decide if what you did was strength or softness. You don't know the answer. You're not sure you want to. The city of Sparta doesn't celebrate your return. No festival, no feast, no words carved into stone. You've spent years bleeding into its dirt, breaking yourself into obedience, learning how to hurt without feeling, how to steal without guilt, how to kill without flinching. And when it's over, when you finally reach the age where the agoge ends, they don't even say your name. What they do is give you a red cloak, not the rough shortened one you've worn since you were 7. This one is heavier, fuller, dyed in a deeper crimson. It hangs down to your knees, You don't ask for it. It's placed in your hands by an instructor who doesn't speak. He nods. That's all. It is not comfort. It's not pride. It's confirmation. You survived. The cloak marks you now as a full Spartan youth, an iron. Not quite a man, not yet, but no longer one of the nameless, faceless boys sleeping on mats. You now sleep on your own. Apart. You have responsibilities, authority, and eyes watching you in a different way. You're assigned to oversee a group of younger boys. You lead their drills, enforce discipline, distribute punishment, and you realize something you never expected. It's harder than it looks. You recognize yourself in their stumbling feet, their untucked elbows, their little trembles in the cold. You don't sympathize. You correct. You strike when you must. But in the back of your mind, you remember the feeling of that first blow, of that first night without food, of blood drying on your skin in the dark. You wonder if they'll remember this too. As an iron, you're also expected to speak more, to lead chants, to give orders. Spartans don't waste words, but they don't fear them either. You are taught now, not just to obey, but to command. Your voice changes, it deepens, it sharpens. You speak slower, more deliberately, and when you speak, they listen. You're also given new drills, not just physical trials, but tactical ones. You begin walking mock patrols at night, tracing routes around city walls, measuring time in footfall, calculating attack angles, timing torchlight passes. You're tested on how you would respond to a revolt, a raid, a betrayal. You always answer quickly, coldly, burn the supplies, kill the leaders, take hostages if necessary. They don't tell you if your answer is right. They just move on. At meals, you eat with older Spartans now, not citizens, those still above you, but men who've completed the agoge, who've stood in formation, who've buried brothers in battle. They speak less than the instructors ever did. They eat in silence, but not passively. Every bite, every glance, every twitch of their hand is heavy with meaning. They measure you silently. You learn to keep your posture perfect, your elbows tucked, your voice calm. You hear more about the world beyond Sparta now. Athens, Thebes, Persia. The instructors speak in warnings, the older men speak in memory. You begin to realize you've been trained not just to kill, but to represent Sparta, to be part of its myth. You are the blade it points at the world. You've seen other Greek boys on the outskirts, sons of merchants, boys of softer cities. They watch from behind their father's legs, their fingers clean, their sandals tied with colored cord. They whisper about you. You know it. You're the thing they fear when they go to sleep, the one who doesn't smile, who doesn't laugh, who doesn't cry. They call you monsters. You know better. You are a product. When you train now, it's with real weapons, blunted only slightly. You fight in formation, side by side, shoulder to shoulder with others who have endured the same drills, the same punishments, the same isolation. And there is a rhythm to it now. You don't think, you move as one, strike as one, march as one. The shield wall is the spine of Sparta, and you've become a vertebra. At night, the younger boys you supervise whisper in the dark. You pretend not to hear, but you do. They ask each other if you were always like this, if you were ever like them, if you ever cried. You want to tell them no, but you know the truth. You did, once, long ago. But you buried that boy under a pile of discipline, silence, and blood. You touch your red cloak before sleep, not for warmth, just to remind yourself. It's yours now. You earned it, even if it cost you everything else. You don't feel proud. That's not something Sparta encourages. There's no final moment, no thunderous applause, no parade of honor where you walk through the streets hailed by the people. Instead, there's a quiet acceptance, a simple truth. You have reached the end of the agoge, not with fanfare, but with familiarity. Pain doesn't shock you anymore. Hunger doesn't faze you. You've lost count of your scars, of the bruises that never fully faded, of the nights when you shook from cold, from injury, from something deeper you never named aloud. You've forgotten softness. That was part of the cost. You're 16 now. You've grown taller. Your limbs are thicker, harder. The instructors no longer bark at you. They speak to you like they would a comrade. You've stopped listening for praise. It never comes. You listen instead for your next instruction, for what Sparta requires from you next. That's how the machine works. It doesn't stop turning. It just changes its shape. You've become something else, still human maybe, but not in the way you used to be. There is calculation in your eyes now, not cruelty, just cold precision. You watch others the way hunters watch deer, measuring distance, movement, vulnerability. When younger boys fail in drills, you correct them without anger. They flinch anyway. They've heard stories. They know who you are. Your body bears the history of what you've survived. There's a mark across your left shoulder from a whip, a faint puckered scar above your knee from a training blade. Your feet are toughened, permanently bruised from years spent barefoot. The sun has stained your skin darker than it once was. Your voice has settled into something deeper. You rarely raise it. You don't need to. At 16, you're not yet a citizen, but you are a weapon. You belong to the state. You've been forged, honed, tested again and again, and now, finally, you are ready to be used. The younger boys avoid your gaze. The older men size you up. You've entered the next phase. Soon you'll join a Sicilia, one of the mess groups made up of full Spartan males. You'll eat with them, train with them, fight beside them if war comes. But you will never quite belong. Not yet. You still have years to prove yourself in battle before your citizenship is granted, before your place in the system is fixed. And even then, even as a man, you will always be watched, because Sparta doesn't trust softness, not even in its own. Sometimes, in the stillness between drills, your thoughts wander, not far, not often, just small flickers of memory you can't fully erase. The feel of your mother's finger pressed briefly to your forehead. The first time your father didn't look away, the taste of meat on the night you didn't expect to live. The boy you let go, the boy you didn't. They come like old ghosts, and you let them pass. You never dwell. You're not supposed to. Even now, with your red cloak over your shoulders, your knife at your hip, and the city quiet beneath the mountains, you know this story isn't over. There will always be more to endure, more drills, more nights, sleeping under the stars, exposed and ready, more eyes measuring you, looking for cracks, waiting for the moment you falter, so they can erase you quietly, like a misfired arrow buried in the earth. You lie on your mat one last night as a boy. Tomorrow, you leave the barracks. You'll sleep elsewhere now. You won't miss it. But something in you recognizes the cost. You didn't survive the Agoge unchanged. You didn't survive it whole. You were torn down and rebuilt, over and over, until the boy you once were no longer recognized his own voice. And now you are what they made you. You are Sparta's creature, its shadow, its blade. Now, the fires have dimmed, the barracks are quiet. The last echoes of training have faded into the stone walls, and the dust you walked across 1,000 times lies still beneath the sleeping mats. If you were lying there now, listening with the ears of the boy you once were, you might still hear the faint scuff of bare feet on packed earth. You might remember the burn of the morning cold, the crack of the instructor's stick, the weight of your own blood drying down your spine. But you're not that boy anymore. The training is over. You did not break. You did not run. You did not weep where others wept. And so, like the hundreds before you, your pain became proof. Your silence, a signature. You passed the tests, not because you found them easy, but because you endured them anyway. Because each day, you stood up again. Each night, you lay down in pain but still woke ready to be torn down, all over again. Now, the Agoge is behind you. You are not free. Sparta has no room for freedom. But you are something else now. Something harder, quieter, colder. The city has made its mark on you, and you will carry that weight the rest of your life. Not because you were forced to, but because that's who you became. Sleep now. Let the echoes of the drills fade. Let the blood dry. Let the dust settle. The test is over, and tomorrow you will rise again. As one of them, as a Spartan,